Dear friends in Christ, it is my duty to call to order this meeting of the parish of St. Mark's on January 19th, 2025, to hear the annual report of 2024 and to elect officers and vestry people. I would like to, and remember please, I am wearing my reading glasses, so a lot of you are just very fuzzy at the moment. I can't quite see you. So please call out your name when you speak. But I would like to have, I would like as chair to move that Anne Meehan be appointed clerk of this meeting and record the minutes. Seconded by? Roger. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Anne is appointed as clerk of the meeting. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Gracious God and Father of us all, look with favor, we ask you, on this parish of St. Mark's, its people, its mission, its commitment to do your will in this place and in the world. We come to you now and ask your blessing on this annual meeting, that it may be a meeting not only of our wills, but of yours, in all that we say and do and decide. Almighty and eternal God, so draw our hearts to thee, so guide our minds, so fill our imaginations, so control our wills, that we may be wholly thine, utterly dedicated unto thee, and then use us, we pray, as you will, and always to the glory and the welfare of thy people. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. The minutes of the annual meeting, January 21st, 2024, have been circulated. Can I have someone move and second their acceptance, please? Kristen moves. Boyd seconds. Thank you, Kristen and Boyd. Are there any errors or omissions from the minutes of the 2024 meeting? Hearing none, we're voting now to approve them. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carried. My pleasure to call on Jim Martucci, Chair of the Nominating Committee.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
It was a pleasure to be part of the nominating committee this year. It's always fun, but it's very challenging, I must say. So whoever wants to volunteer for next year, we'll see what happens. But it turned out really good. I was working with Martha Heiner and Kristen Hauser for quite a while to get everybody together and get these nominees done. I'm very pleased to announce them today. Jenny Phillips for Junior Warden. Marilyn Liga, 3-year term, membership. Laura Skriner, 3-year term, Christian education. Beth Kujan, 3-year term for grounds. She actually was there every day anyway, so it was like a no-brainer on that one. For the convention representatives, we have Martha Heiner and our faithful Doug Post, who's done this many times. And as alternates, we have Chuck Nill and Sean Gogarty. And that's it.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions for Jim? Very good. May I have someone please move acceptance of the slate of those nominated?
Can I speak on this? Can I speak on the motion?
Yes, of course, Doug. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I would like to speak on the nominating committee report and offer an amendment to strike the references to the various commissions for the slate that's been nominated. First, let me say this is in no way a reflection on the people who have been nominated. I think they're all highly qualified. But for background, for many years, the only committee that the bylaws required was a finance committee. And then in 1986, the bylaws were changed along with increasing the vestry to 12, and they named a number of commissions to be part of the vestry. In 2009, the bylaws were changed to reduce the number of vestry persons back to 9, and in the process of doing that, they did not change the listing of the commissions. So we actually now have 2 commissions that are in the bylaws that no longer exist. Fortunately, when they made the amendment to the bylaws, they did suggest or state that commissions may be added or combined or removed as time and circumstances require. And I think the fact that the bylaws were changed this way 40 years ago to add these commissions, there's a lot has been changed in the last 40 years. So as a result of that, I would like to suggest that the report be amended, or if necessary, make a motion to amend the existing motion, the report from the committee, to remove the the references to the specific commissions.
Do we have a seconder for this?
I don't know if we really understand.
Yeah, I don't know either. But Doug, the as far as I can tell, the information that's contained here in parentheses is parenthetical. It's only a statement of the fact that the people who agreed to serve on the vestry would also take on that responsibility. Of course, the vestry is sovereign and can reassign assignments whenever they wish. So I don't know how to proceed, except to say that I consider that information parenthetical. Yes.
I know that St. Bernard's works this way, where individual people on the vestry are supposed to be on the vestry, and then the vestry itself, they don't have individual areas of responsibility like we have here. St. Bernard's works that way. I just don't know what it would look like. I've been thinking about, I was nominated to the membership, and we all know membership, how do we help with membership? And one of the things I was thinking is that membership, how do we get new people in? We're getting people in through events, in my estimation. We don't get new people in and sometimes you can invite a friend to come to services if they're going to want to. We do it by events. And so, and yet, if I'm membership, does that mean I'm also a fellowship? It just was kind of confusing. So, I can kind of see looking this way.
I don't think, Marilyn, that we're proposing changing any of this in actuality. I'll just make a note to the recording secretary, the clerk of the meeting, that when she prepares the minutes of this, she will remove any references to the committee assignments. Can I have someone move acceptance of the slate of those nominated to be junior warden, 3 vestry members, and diocesan convention representatives. Those are Jenny Phillips, Marilyn Liga, Laura Skriner, Beth Kujan, Martha Heiner, and Doug Post. May I have a motion to accept this, please?
I move to accept the slate.
Yeah. Bruce, great. And seconded by Sean Gogarty. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you. What a wonderful and talented group of people to add to the vestry. I look forward to working with you very much. Outgoing Senior Warden Chuck Nill, time for you to give your report.
Well, my report's in writing, and I'm not going to read it to everybody.
Thank you.
I can say now that I'm done with this year, I'm going to Disney.
Sorry, what?
The only other thing I got this year was from our past rector, who had his nice St. Mark's wardrobe, and I said, "You're not wearing that anymore, so why don't you give me a vest?" So I got a vest. It was quite the year, not really what I expected, and I was telling Clark earlier today that, one of my big goals when the year was starting was to actually redo the bylaws. And we kind of got started on that, and it wasn't really the most important thing that was going to happen this year. We had to celebrate the Morley family, the Morley ministry here, when we did a great job. I do want to say thank you to the folks that donated to the stained glass windows before I go into some other stuff. But these windows, I wish it was a brighter, sunnier day today, not so cloudy and about the snow, because they really just burst when it's sunny outside. And soon the chapel windows will be done. Roger sent me an email on Friday, I think it was, that they were cleaning up in the chapel, and can we get rid of this old fan? Well, yes, because it hasn't probably worked in 60 years at best. So it was time to get rid of it. I want to say thank you to the vestry this year. The vestry had a lot to do. We met a lot more than normal, especially over the summer, and it was just, the group of people were just amazing to come together on short notice, and multiple times, every couple of weeks at some points and times, and so it was just, it's a great group of people, and thank you to the outgoing members, Kristen and Lily and Steve. Your contributions over the last 3 years have just been great, and it's wonderful when people step up, and to what Jim said before, if you haven't been on the vestry and you're a confirmed Episcopalian, we may come looking for you next year. It's only 3 years. It's very rewarding in the end. So, but everybody needs to participate. Boyd and Jenny, I wish you all the best. No, it'll be great, and I'll be there if you need me. So, but this community of St. Mark's is quite outstanding, I think, and the way everybody has come together, stayed together. I'm just very proud to be part of this community. Sorry, but...
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Chuck.
The way everybody's held it together and not fought with each other, or at least not big fighting with each other, maybe a couple little things here and there, a couple skirmishes, but yeah, we've lived through Jesus, and thank you all very much. It was a pleasure to serve you.
My report. My report's on stretches 2 pages long here, so I also am not going to read it, but to give a couple of sort of high-level comments. The first is a series of thank yous. There are kind of 3 people that the clergy work with in a special way. The senior warden is obviously one of them. The chair of the finance committee is another one. And in an interim situation, the chair of the discernment committee as well. And also, and how could I forget, the women, and I think it's just women at this point, of the Altar Guild, under the leadership of Jeannie Wyatt. It's just been so wonderful to work with such upstanding, competent, lovely people, and so I'm very grateful for that. I'm also, and I don't think you are going to be surprised one bit in me saying this, but I don't know how anyone could do this job without Ann Meehan, and so she's just I've not always had this situation where I come to work and it's pleasant. So I don't take that for granted. But it's coming to work is pleasant, and that's very great. So thank you. If you have any questions about my report or about my ministry in any way, we do have time at the end of the meeting for questions and comments from the floor. Sean, would you give us an update on the state of the search?
Okay, I didn't write mine out. I actually put it in bullet form, so you can actually follow through it pretty easily. So just to kind of reflect back, a lot of you are probably wondering, wow, the discernment committee has basically been put in place for about 6 months now. We were charged with this back in the summertime. Just to give you a status of where we are, so in early November, we had the meeting with the parish about the profile, presented it to everybody, discussed it, got a lot of great questions, made some final edits to it. Thank you so much to Father Clark for the help he gave us on that. We had it done before he came in, a first draft of it, but he really took us through, a lot of rethinking about what we needed to do, and it was invaluable to us. So thank you for all that. We did add it to the church website in December, so it's out there for anyone who wants to apply. They see the profile and they can see all about St. Mark's on there. And then we got the advertisements that get sent out through the church for people to look at and to apply. Those got sent out later in December. So those have been out there. We set a timeline of 6 weeks for the advertisements to be out. That actually ends this coming week, so we are likely going to extend it. At this point, the status is we've actually gotten a couple inquiries now. We have not actually received any formal applications, at least none that have come to the discernment committee. They go through, you see in here TMO, the Transition Ministry Officer, Joan Mason. I've gotten to know Joan quite well after the last few months because we have a lot of conversations around what to do, how to modify it, and the one thing I'm learning is this is actually a growing process for the diocese too. They're learning more and more as this process goes on, not only for St. Mark's, but other parishes where they're looking at trying to do the same thing we're doing with going through a transition and bringing a new minister in. So the questionnaires have been submitted. We are constantly looking at, and we'll be meeting, the committee will be meeting again probably this week, just to revisit the questionnaires and see, are there any ways that we want to enhance that. The one thing I can absolutely tell you, and I just had a conversation with Joan last week, she wanted to revisit this, so I resent it to her, all the questionnaires, and she came back with just absolutely glowing comments. She says, you guys really did a great job on this. These questionnaires and the way you advertise the position is as good as any that are out there. So it was encouraging to me to see that. It'd be much more encouraging to me if we start getting a lot more applications in. I was really hoping I'd have a whole handful that we'd be already addressing at this point. But, we're going to follow God's will at this point, and God will definitely bring the right people to us. I'm very confident in that. So as they come through, as I said, Joan will do a red flag to make sure that they're appropriate. I've learned from Father Clark that, we will get a lot of applications and some we really don't want to see. And so they're going to kind of look at that. Bishop Sally will actually be involved with working with the diocese that anyone who applies comes from to make sure that they're all in agreement on this person should be applying here and make sure that the background's right and they make sure they're appropriate to come here. So we're going to get a good vetting before we even see that. So the next step is once we once we extend this, and we will extend the advertisements, and we'll extend it as long as we need to. Hopefully, we'll start seeing more coming through pretty quickly. And then once we start getting those applications, we will jump on right away and start the interview process. The committee has already created a whole handful of standard questions. Some we will send in advance to the applicant to have them fill out for us, because the initial phone interviews will be about an hour. So, we've got a lot of questions that we've already come up with. So we kind of went through it and said, wow, there's no way we can get through that in an hour. So we will definitely send some up front. And then after that happens, then we'll have actually a live interview, probably by phone. And then as we skinny that list down to manageable few people at most, then we'll start actually going to visit. And so that will be coming and happening in the coming months. So we're looking forward to that. The expectation is we should have this new rector in place by July 1st was our initial goal. We actually have, as Father Clark said, we have him till September, and if we need, we can go longer than that. So right now, based on the timeline, July 1st is still a realistic possibility, but it depends on when the applications come in, and we'll make sure that we keep everyone up to date on what's going on and apprised of developments as they go along. So, yeah, Kristen?
Just want to mention inviting the parish to spread the word.
Oh, yes. Well, I don't know if that's what you were actually saying, but one of the things also, sorry, I skipped that, one of those very, very important points here, is one thing we're also looking for, and Joan Mason, the transition ministry officer, had suggested, is get recommendations from people. That's actually how we found Rick Morley. He came from a recommendation from one of our parishioners, and they went to go look at him. It didn't come through like the regular application process. And I actually reached out to Rick earlier this week and talked to him about that. And so he's thinking through it right now and going to come up with any ideas he has. Obviously, Father Clark has tons of resources. He's thinking through it too. So if anyone knows of anyone, if you've been visiting a church, as a matter of fact, I go to church in the summertime when I'm in Long Beach Island. We go to the Episcopal Church down there sometimes. I thought she would be a great candidate for it, but unfortunately she announced at the end of the summer she's leaving to take on actually another role with the diocese, so she's out of play. But if anyone has anyone that you can think of, that especially if you've gone to visit other churches and you think there's someone who, wow, we should really take a look at that person, please talk to any one of us on the committee, and we'll make sure that we consider that individual, because that's, like we said, that's how we got Rick last time. Yes, Doug?
If a clergy person within the diocese wanted to apply, would they contact us? Would they go through the diocesan transition office? And if we give you names, can you reach out to them, or do you have to go through the transition office?
Yeah, so we would, so the first step is we would, if you gave me a name of someone that's in the diocese, I would go right to Joan Mason and say, yeah, this is someone we'd be interested in talking to. We do have to filter that through the transition ministry officer, so yeah, we would have to go through her. The good thing is that we wouldn't have to go through the Sally checking to make sure that she's good with the person, because obviously she would know them already, and those communications, so that'd probably be much more efficient. But yeah, we would still work with the transition ministry officer on that first.
Yeah, it's fairly straightforward. If you know someone, you can always speak to them directly and encourage them to apply.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and that's the way. And conversely, if the committee can reach out to people and ask them to apply, but the application is all the same through the transition ministry officer at the diocese.
So Kristen, did I answer you? I did, okay, good. I wasn't sure if I answered your point or not. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, well.
I'd like to apologize on behalf of the Episcopal priesthood, because we're letting you down here. Just a statistic I shared with Sean before, that for every priest looking for work, there are 8 available openings. So it's a bit of a buyer's market at the moment, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Jamie, you want to come up and give us the good news?
morning.
Morning.
Before we start, I'd like to say one thank you. You know, this is a time of change for our church, and it's great to have an experienced, steady hand at the helm. Thank you, Father Clark. We appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
I'd also, before we get going, like to thank the members of the Finance Committee. Selfishly, I think we've got such a strong committee. We have really great debate. We flush out all viewpoints, all positions are heard, and then we come together for a common decision. So Sean, Martha, Doug Post, Chuck, Matt, and a special thanks, Father Clark mentioned, Ann just does a dynamite job in doing not only the books, keeping the books sound, but just about everything else for us. So thank you, Ann. So to start off with, I'll talk a little bit about 2024, and then we'll move on to the budget. So in furtherance of the sermon today, I want to thank everyone for their generosity. The generosity yielded us a little bit of abundance in 2024. So I want to thank all the parishioners for their continual support for our wonderful church. 2024 was another solid year for us to build our financial foundation. Our operating income we generated before we took some reserves, about $38,000 of profit. Great news. How did we do that? We did that by all of our income items being above our budget and all of our costs being below the budget. So, as a bean counter would say, that's good news. So, thanks to everybody for that process. Some of the details I want to make sure everyone understands is with that profit, we decided to take a long-term view, and we went ahead and allocated some reserves for some of the things that are going to occur into 2025 and beyond, particularly with the recruitment of a new rector. There's some repairs that are much needed in the rectory. We accrued for those. We accrued for some facility management assistance each and every Sunday and throughout the year. John does a lot of those, so thank you, John, for all you do for this church. We appreciate you. And we also, at the same time, we provided some reserves for insurance. In this past year, the quotes we received on our property insurance, this was a very hard market during the year. The quotes came back higher, so we increased our deductible from $5,000 to $10,000. What we did was we went ahead and accrued a reserve for any time that we have a claim into the future. We reserve that in 2024. So the generosity, the abundance, went towards funding these particular reserves that we think will happen into 2025. So even after those reserves, we still generated a small profit. So that's 2 years in a row where this has been the case. So really good news, great financial performance. I'm not going to go into all of the details, but our pledges were very strong in 2024. They were about $6,500 above our budget. In addition to that, we had about a $17,000 favorable variance on building use. donations. So we allow people to use our church and donate money. That was a favorable variance to us. On the cost side, as I mentioned, we had some change this year. Obviously, we had an interim rector who started after Father Rick left. So there was some change in the individual line items of the personnel costs. The yield is, a reduction from the budget, okay? In addition to that, on the building and grounds expense, I want to say we had budgeted for a sexton for roughly $7,000 or $8,000. We did not hire a sexton or, contract with a third party to conduct those services. So that was a favorable variance. But I want to be very clear, we had some surprises on the building and grounds, right? We had some ash trees that we had to take care of. There were some last minute repairs that we had to make. So had we not had that favorable variance on the sections, we probably would have been, above the budget on the building and grounds cost. So just a little bit of information there. So really, great year from a profitability standpoint. That profitability also allowed our liquidity position, our cash position, to improve. We ended the year at $128.2 thousand of operating cash, right? 128. That's up 34,000 from last year, which closely approximates the profits that we had during the year, right? As a result of that liquidity, we decided to create a separate account of $25,000 for the discernment committee, right? For use in the event that through the interview process, but primarily for the recruitment and any incremental or additional costs we may incur to get a new rector in the door. Things like potentially moving them from a different geographic location, or any flying them in for interviews, whatever those costs are, we set those funds aside in a separate account so that we'll be able to really, recruit the best possible rector for our church. A couple of other things. Our DIT, our Diocesan Investment Trust, improved to $269.3 thousand. That's up 20% or $45,000 from last year. Obviously, very favorable market conditions, great growth, and we benefited from that. So good news on that front. The Move by the Spirit campaign, remember, we paid off the mortgage. Right? Great news, right? Great news, right? Super news there. But even after that, we were able to repair the organ, right? And even after that, the fund still increased by $70,000. Remember, we've got roof repairs. That's on the horizon, right? So we're going to be planning and continue those contributions, to take care of our wonderful church. And last but not least, Chuck mentioned, but the stained glass window project, $125,000 project for the chapel and for the windows here in the church. Those were funded by specific donations from people. So a lot of great things happened in 2024, right? So thank you all for your support. Any questions about 2024? Okay. 2025, okay? This is a year of change for us, obviously. We've got a lot going on. We're recruiting a new rector, lots of change. So we had to take into consideration all of those factors as we built the 2025 budget. There's a certain degree of uncertainty. There's some uncertainty, on how our cost structure will lay out throughout the year, right? We have in the budget, we've assumed a new rector starts August 1st, right? So we have transition costs and costs associated with that process. But just from a summary standpoint, on the top line, we're budgeting just under $400,000 of income, right? That is down from $432,000 last year. Very important. And the reason is, as of last week, our commitments on pledges were $293,000. Last year we did 324. So that's almost a 10% reduction in our pledges. So if you haven't, this is my cell. If you haven't pledged, pledge. If you have pledged, please pledge more. But thank you for that. So we have to, the top line's going to come down by about 7.5%. We think that, all the other income items will remain relatively flat, but the top line is coming down. On the cost side, as I mentioned, we have roughly the same amount we're budgeting to break even, $400,000 of costs. Obviously, the biggest cost in our operations is our personnel costs, right? Primarily the new rector and costs associated with that. So again, August 1st is what we assume. Hopefully it'll be sooner, but if not, we've got a great steward in Father Clark. On the building and grounds costs, including the insurance, the costs are down compared to last year. Part of that is that we went ahead and took those reserves in 2024 to be able to accommodate all the things we need to do in preparation for the new rector, and continue to click away at all the things that we need to do to keep on the upkeep of the church and the rectory. One particular change I want to mention, that this year we funded the choir program through the operating expenses. Previously, there were separate fundraisers for those events, and this year we had enough sufficient income that we wanted to begin the process of making sure that we had adequate funding for our choir. So when you look at the worship expenses in the budget, it's up by about $9,000, and that's solely a transfer from what was funded through a specific fund to the operating budget. All right? Our diocesan fair share expenses increased slightly, but as a percentage of pledges, offerings, and donations, actually increased from 6.8% last year to 7.6% in 2025. As you know, there's a big push. Not everyone's paying their fair share. This is not political. And so there's a push for everybody to contribute to, the diocese. And we have found a way to continue to do that through all of our financial challenges that we've had over the past 3-4 years. And that's it on all the other costs. We're pretty much in line. And I think these results are very achievable. I think the only risk is, we got to keep those pledges and contributions up, right? That gives us the flexibility, to do all the things that we need to do here in the church. So I'll open it up for questions, but thank you for your time.
On the agenda, it says the adoption of the 2025 budget. In Episcopal churches, it's the vestry that adopts the annual budget, but I would like to move acceptance of Jamie's report, which includes the 2025 budget for next. And who moved that? Chuck, thank you. And who seconds it? Kristen seconds it. Point of personal privilege. Jamie's such a pro, and there was not an inconsiderable amount of work on this year's budget, and lots of going back and forth, and lots of trying to do our best estimates on various income and expense categories, and fine-tuning those. It was a lot of work. And so I join the parish in thanking you, Jamie, for your own steady hand at this, and managing all of us opinionated people on your committee. So we have a motion on the floor to accept Jamie's report. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. My pleasure to call on Roger Conover for the presentation of the Lifetime Stewardship Award. It is Roger who's doing this, is it? Yeah. Excellent.
I'm not making the presentation, but I would like to say a few words of introduction. I see lots of familiar faces out here who've been at past annual meetings who are quite familiar with this, but we do have someone here, namely Robert
Roger,
Clark.
do you mind going to the lectern?
Here, I'm going to help him out. Here you go. Just talk right into that. Hold it close to your mouth.
Can you hear me now? Okay. This Distinguished Service Award goes back many years now. Actually, we're almost up to 20 years. And it was first given in 2006 on the departure of someone that many of you old-timers remember, namely Daphne Woods Cress. And she had been here for 51 years or so, a tremendous parishioner, and I think we remember Daphne in large part. Well, she did so much with buildings and all of that, but it's really the Daphne Woods Cress kitchen, and she was at the heart of designing it and having it put in, and we're still enjoying it all these years later. Her husband, of course, was Jim Woods, and I don't know whether you know this, Clark, but this cross was made by Jim from the remains of a barn that was taken down. So we remember both Daphne and Jim. Well, this is the Daphne Woods Cress Award for Distinguished Lifetime Service. The only requirements are that someone be a major outstanding contributor to the life of this parish for a minimum of 20 years, and it must be someone who is still on our rolls. Over the years, we have had 19 awards of this, and one amazing thing is that Only one of these people is deceased, and that is Daphne herself. And then, of course, we lost Buck Kirch a few years ago when he moved to Florida. But all of the other honorees over the years are still with this parish. I'd now like to introduce Jim Martucci. We have a tradition now of the last honoree being the one who presents the presentation of the new honoree. So, Jim?
I'm so excited to find out who this is. I tried to get it out of people, and it was like the cone of silence had descended over this process. So,
Do you have your reading glasses on? No one ever wants to follow Roger. That's a statement there. This is going to be the best part of my day, probably the best part of my week and month. Last year, I was so honored to receive this award, being among the past recipients who have done so much for St. Mark's. I remember as I was sitting in the pew that day, I was guessing who might be the next recipient, as I've done in the years past. The person we are honoring today was exactly the person that I thought deserved it most last year, and was hoping they would be walking up to receive their award. A year later, that day has come. This person has served as a vestry member leading the Finance Commission. They have been instrumental in helping St. Mark's meet its financial obligations for many years, involved in helping manage our mortgage debt and loan payoff, also serving on the vestry as junior and senior warden. This person has served our church in so many ways, even with a very busy and challenging career and with extreme devotion to their family. This person is typically at every event helping in any way, despite having a few operations to repair some body parts. Contributing significantly to our capital campaigns, there is a room dedicated in their name. This person never misses church ground cleanups and is known as a master leaf blower, usually leaving the church a lot dirtier than when they arrived. As a leader in our Acolyte program, the church is always brighter when they are present along with their family. As chair of the Discernment Committee, this person and the Discernment team have well positioned St. Mark's in our next phase of the search for our new rector. So here's the thing. I know I've missed many contributions in this brief summary. The reason is this is the type of person who does things behind the scenes with no one knowing and needing no acknowledgement whatsoever. This is a person who sets an example for all of us on how to worship, serve our church, and serve our community. I'm truly honored to reveal the name of this year's St. Mark's Lifetime Stewardship Award recipient, Sean Gogarty.
I have to tell you, I'm a little bit embarrassed. Not used to getting this kind of thing, but thank you so much for this. I look at this list of people on this, and I follow a lot of people on some big shoulders here. Roger, you're an inspiration to my entire life. So to follow you and what you've done is just, to me, says a lot about everything that's going on here. But everything I do is it's a passion for me. This is such a wonderful place and an incredible family to be part of. And it's fun. I like coming here. The leaf blowing's pretty fun sometimes, especially when I don't hurt myself. But it's a great place. It's just incredible people, and I get the opportunity. The best thing about the Discernment Committee thing this year, especially, is just getting to work with the people on the committee, But probably most of all is getting the chance to work directly with Clark. I mean, you're amazing. You do a great job with this, and the more I get to know people, the more fun life is. So thank you so much. This is really a lot more than what I ever thought. And Jim, I don't know why you thought I should have got this before you. I think you're crazy, but thank you so much. This is fantastic. Thank you.
I'm not sure it's because I'm a bit of a control freak, but I was worried about this award, and and when everyone was so secretive about it, my only prayer was, I hope they do a good job. And boy, did they ever do a good job, so that's great. So over the course of the annual meeting, perhaps a question or a comment has occurred to you. I'm happy to take those now or direct them to the appropriate person. I'm moving a little closer so that I can see Jeannie. Yeah. Okay. Jeannie was my first hospital visit at St. Mark's, and we're glad she's back on her feet now.
This is kind of hard, but I just want to say a huge, huge, huge thank you to everybody here. The past 4 months have been very trying, and everybody has been so wonderful and so gracious, and I've gotten so much good food. It's so good. And the gals on the Altar Guild, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I can't thank you enough. I mean, I'm so used to doing everything, and it's hard for me to give up, if you know what I mean. And to sit on the sidelines and not being able to do anything was driving me cuckoo. And I just thank you. I mean, you gals were fantastic, and I couldn't have done it without you. And I really thank everybody here. God bless you. Thank you.
There's an old joke amongst Episcopal clergy that the Altar Guild ought better be named the Altercation Guild because of the high feelings and drama that sometimes go along with it. But no need to do that here. This is a solid team of devoted folks who work behind the scenes and sometimes surprise me in dark corners of the building at night and things like that. And it's, what are you doing here, Altar Guild? Oh, okay. It's really a great outfit. Other comments or questions? Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you for saying thank you, but it was nothing. It was of course, just what should happen all the time. I see the hand. Doug, yes.
I'd just like to reiterate a point that Jamie made in the finance report. As mentioned, our pledges are down this year. If you intended to pledge and neglected to, we will happily receive your pledge. And one of the things that I've noticed, we have people that moved away. We've had people that their pledges are their discretionary income and their mandatory expenses have gone up. So we've also had people in the past who have overpaid their pledge, and this year many of them have brought their pledge up to the levels that they've been giving out, so that cushion is going away. So we really would like to be able to do many of the things that we want to do here at St. Mark's. We can only do that with income. So once again, if you have not pledged, please do.
And I'd like to say, if anyone needs any information about why a pledge is important not only for the community but also our own spiritual lives, I'd be happy to talk with anyone about that, especially if pledging is a new concept to you. Thank you, Doug. And thank you, Doug, for keeping track of all of our weekly givings and recording all of that so faithfully, and talk about a steady hand. That's you, Doug. Motion to adjourn. Who moved that? Boyd, and seconded by Emma. A motion to adjourn is, by Robert's Rules of Order, is non-debatable. And so I ask you all, shall we adjourn? Please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Mike.